All right, the new look for the Allison Morrow Show. We've got Chris Whalen, CPA, here to test out, be my guinea pig for the relaunch of what I'm doing on the internet. Many of you know, if you pay attention, that I have not done very many podcasts over the last few weeks, if not a couple of months, really, because I have kind of been in an identity shift mode. I have a growing farm now. I have growing children now, and so the multiple shows a week for an hour with a guest digging in deep into topics related to censorship has not it has not really continued with my lifestyle. I truly believe that um when I think of God's priorities for my life, that being a wife and a mother has got to be at the top of it. And so anything that detracts from my ability to do that, I don't think is uh, the right way to go now. This idea we have, Chris is going to help me out with today, is to take the short farm content, the news content that relates to farming, food, and health, which has become quite a focus of mine over the last year or two, put all that together so that I can show you how our life is modeling a journey towards solutions in a world that has become very problem focused. And one of the reasons that I got really interested in farming is because over the years of digging into the rabbit holes, the many rabbit holes on the internet, whatever the latest shadow theory is that we're trying to, is this true or not true? Are we getting a deep fake here? Whatever, is that in most cases, you're just never really going to be able to figure it out. And I found it to be far more fulfilling to figure out something on my own land, to figure out how to grow a tomato plant, to milk a goat, to raise children who have an appreciation for our natural resources, for where our food comes from, for their health and wellness, and to have some self sufficiency early in life. And so I just want to be able to share more of that. So that's what we're going to do today. Chris, I want to tell you a quick story related to all this. I just was dropping off my daughter at summer camp this morning. She goes to a summer camp at our church. And yesterday, when I was picking her up, they said she's cleaning a desk. She'll be out in a second. So all the other kids had gone, but she was sticking around to clean a desk. And I thought, wow, I got to see this. This is amazing. So I peek my head in, and she's using a wipe that, like, my eco Spidey mom focus like zeroes in on the wipe because I recognize it to be a knockoff of this. All right, so I quickly scan the room, and sure enough, I find a knockoff Clorox bleach wipe bottle on the counter. And I said, "Is that what she has in her hand that she's wiping the desk down with?" And they said, "Yeah." And I was like, put it down, and go wash your hands. Put it down, go wash your hands. So I'm starting this show off today with this PSA because I did a video about this years ago, back when everybody was stocking up on this stuff during the beginning of COVID. I showed people how to make their own hydrogen peroxide wipes because this stuff is so toxic. All right. And it even says on these labels, if you take the time to read it, it will say, you look at caution. All right. It says, avoid contact with eyes and clothing, but wash thoroughly with soap and water after handling. Wash thoroughly with soap and water after handling. How many people know that the label on these disinfectant white bottles says you have got to wash your hands like immediately? Okay, so you're not wiping down the whole room, and then you, sorry, that stuff has already gotten to your bloodstream. So I gave the camp counselors my toxic living 101 class. I think they're ready for my husband to do the drop off and pickups at this point. But I just figured I'd let everybody know. Okay, if you're using these wipes, which I suggest you not do, like you use it for a second and then you go wash your hands with soap and water if you must have them. But I suggest throwing them out and finding something like a hydrogen peroxide wipe, or just use a spray bottle with hydrogen peroxide or vinegar. Okay, so that's where we're starting. Chris, yesterday I posted that we're relaunching the Allison Morrow Show to have a little bit more of news farm content. And you're going to talk to us specifically about artificial intelligence. I'm curious, first off, do you use these wipes?
No, I don't.
Okay, good. That was the right answer. Chris is going to talk to us about, can artificial intelligence replace you? He posted a quiz on his website, which I've put in the chat so you can go take it yourself. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know what you think about the whole hour or 45 minutes, however long we go, half hour, 45 minutes. What you think about the whole show being posted, or you like little clips because we're not live on YouTube. We probably won't do lives on YouTube as the show goes forward. But if you click on locals, AllisonMorrow.locals.com, if you're there, you can go to my post here with Chris, and that's got the link. Otherwise, you're going to chriswhalenCPA.com and you'll see the memo, Can AI Replace You? Take my quiz and find out. So you can take his quiz and find out about this. Chris, before we go into the news of the day, tell me, why are you interested specifically in AI and the economy, or the job economy, and the future of our workforce in the United States?
Well, first of all, I think that for a couple of decades now, the college degrees that people are getting have not all been affording us, say, a life supporting job. But I think it's very important that I think it's overhyped a little bit, but I think that the corporations are not going to care if they can replace 1,000 people with AI agent bots. They'll do it in a second and let people go. So um, that's why it's very important. If you take my quiz, there's some things that you need to have as characteristics of your job to make you more important than someone that just shuffles paper. So I definitely I'm getting a lot of calls about this from clients and recent graduates. They're very concerned that the white collar entry level positions are not going to be there in the next few years like they used to be. And I think part that's partly true.
Okay, I want to show everybody here. I'm going to pull this up right now. This is the farm update I want to give before we get into the news. Chris has just told us about AI and how we're going to talk about that after the news. But okay, let's do some farm content real fast. I wanted to let everybody know we had 7 baby goats born, and we watched it from home. If you go to our YouTube channel, Off Gritish Living, or you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you'll get a lot more of this stuff. But once a week, I'll do a show where you'll see the updates. So I'm going to go back in time about 2 months here because I haven't done a lot of updates. See how we're rubbing the baby? Okay, most of the time these animals handle it okay, but this one scared me a little bit. I'll be honest. I'm watching it, even though it's the first time I ever watched a live birth for our goats. It was not breathing. And we waited about 30 seconds or so because I really didn't want to intervene if I didn't absolutely have to, because I know these animals know what they're doing. But see how it's not really it wasn't really moving. You could finally start seeing it twitching about a minute in. And I think for the most part, animals know how to do this, but every once in a while you'll have a situation where like the sack is over their face, and you can see Lily they're rubbing. This is a little buckling who now is 2 months old and doing great. But this was the homeschool biology class for the day. This is what we get to see here, which is really amazing. And the most incredible thing about all of this is that once they start to wake up, within a minute or two, they're nursing, they're walking, and this was just absolutely incredible to be able to see our goat give birth. Lily watched the entire thing. Jack wanted to go watch a movie inside. He's a little bit less interested in the farm experience. He much prefers to be in the air conditioning working on some kind of engineering project. But anyway, you see our goats here. They're all doing well. We're now getting close to a half gallon of milk a day ourselves, which has been really amazing. And Lily milks every day before summer camp. We get up at dawn and the kids go out and we milk the goats and we feed the chickens. And then we try to get to summer camp on time. There you can see the little guy finally walking for the first time. This was an amazing day. If you are looking for a buckling, this guy is still available, as is his brother, which that was the other fascinating thing. We watched Heidi give birth to this one and she was nursing. And then all of a sudden we noticed she started pushing again. And this is the second baby that came out. So I was like, okay, wow, she's just standing up here. See, she's licking the other baby, standing up, and she's pushing out the other one. And it was just like, it's over and done. There you go. What do you think, Chris? You ever seen anything like this before?
And with no epidural, I'm very, very impressed.
No. You know, I'm learning how to give vitamin and mineral shots right now. Um, and it kind of freaks me out. One of the
It, it,
videos.
it, it reminds me when I was younger, a family down the block went on vacation, and I had to take care of the cats for a week.
Mhm.
And I didn't know that the mom was pregnant. So when I went to feed them, she suddenly started giving birth, and I watched like 6 kittens come out all at the same time. So it's a very similar experience.
That is, yeah. So there you go, Lily. She said after this that when she grows up, she wants to be someone who helps baby goats drink. So that's what she wants to do for a living. Okay, Chris, before we go any further with the news of the day, we're going to be talking about ICE. Trump got some pressure to stop the ICE raids on the hotel industry and farms and seems to have reversed his decision to slow those down. So we'll show you a quick video about that. But before we go any further, you know that chickens, you do chicken therapy. I've heard this is a thing, chicken therapy. People go out and have a glass of wine and sit in their chicken coop and just stare at their chickens. If you're one of those people, do not embarrass your chickens by bringing cheap wine into the coop. You know they can smell it. They can taste it if you give them some. They only want your primo quality wine, AllisonWinePromo.com. We missed Father's Day. Sorry about that. I just did not have a show Father's Day week, but it's not too late because you can do an annual membership to my club and you'll be ready for next Father's Day. You won't have to worry about it. So get dad a subscription to AllisonWinePromo.com. Maybe he's one of those guys that goes out in his bathrobe and sits with the chickens and drinks wine. We're not going to tell anybody what happens. The Allison Wine Promo Club stays in the Allison Wine Promo Club. These are all selected for the kind of wine that I like. So they're small vineyards, hand-picked grapes in a lot of cases. They don't add a bunch of the nasty filler stuff that's in grocery store wine. And there's history for all of these wines. I mean, we're talking like 200-year-old vineyards, fifth generation family farms, and in some cases extremely high altitude, so 6,000 to 9,000 feet. And there's very few pesticides in these areas. They're extremely remote and they just taste great. So AllisonWinePromo.com. Hope to see you over there in the wine club. Chris, let's switch over to the news of the day. Then we're going to do artificial intelligence. On USA Today, we see this headline: Trump reverses course and resumes ICE raids at farms, hotels, and restaurants. President Trump had promised changes to protect some migrant workers in a June 12th Truth Social post, but his administration has since changed course. This is what he posted. Our great farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business have been stating that our very aggressive policy on immigration is taking very good longtime workers away from them, with those jobs being almost impossible to replace. In many cases, the criminals allowed into our country by the very stupid Biden open borders policy are applying for those jobs. This is not good. We must protect our farmers, but get the criminals out of the USA. Changes are coming. So before we go any further, Chris, where do you stand on all of this?
Well, I think a lot of it's a smokescreen. We either have rule of law or we do not. So you can't just pick and choose which laws we're going to enforce just because your feelings are hurt or you're worried. So the rule of law has to be enforced. That's the main point. Yes, sometimes it gets messy. We have to go into schools, go into places of business, but are we going to have the rule of law or not? And so I believe that we have, even though some people are against it, but there's laws that they wouldn't want to postpone either. So I think the rule of law has to be enforced by the government. That's why Trump was elected.
All right, let's show Tim
Well,
Dillon.
let's listen.
Oh, go ahead.
Anything else is just not enforcing the rule of law because you're afraid people are going to get hurt or be inconvenienced, and that's no way to run a country.
I want to play this clip from Tim Dillon so that we can add a little different perspective here.
You're going into these places randomly, and people can't exist in this climate of fear and chaos, and it'll be incredibly disruptive to the economy as well. It's going to disrupt the economy. You're not going to be able to fill these jobs overnight. And I'm a guy that believes that I'm with these people when they say the lie about jobs Americans won't do is a lie. You know, immigration in this country has benefited millionaires and billionaires primarily. It's certainly also benefited the people that have come over to a certain degree, but many of them live in the shadows. They can't unionize. They can't demand proper wages. They're abused. And the reason that they are brought in is so that millionaires and billionaires can pay them less money.
Okay, Chris. So 2 points he's making here. Number one, that it's going to be disruptive to the economy, and number two, that when they say, well, Americans won't do these jobs, they just don't want to get dirty. They don't want to do these jobs. He's saying that's BS. What Americans don't want is they don't want to do it for pennies on the dollar. They want a living wage, and that's why Americans won't do those jobs. So what's your rebuttal to that?
Well, that's in my experience, that's exactly right. So I've never had a client. I do a lot of construction, landscaping, manufacturing. I've never had a client that suddenly had lost some illegal employees, have to take on American citizens. They've had to pay them more. So yeah, it's very clear. But I think Tim contradicted himself at the beginning. He made it seem like it's too disruptive. It's like almost immoral. No, we have to have the rule of law. So what's the answer then? You either are gonna deport people and find them where they're working or going to school, or you're not. So I'm sorry, we have to have rule of law. So Tim was please playing both sides of the fence in that clip, if you
All
think
right.
about it.
In the article from USA Today, Trump reverses course and resumes ICE raids at farms, hotels, and restaurants, they do bring up that there had been some pressure. They say Brooke Rollins, who's Trump's agricultural secretary, relayed the farming industry's concerns to Trump about losing workers because of the president's mass deportations. But Stephen Miller, a deputy White House chief of staff and top architect of Trump's immigration agenda, opposed the carve-outs for certain industries, the Washington Post reported. So when the news was breaking about Rollins saying, "Hey, we're hearing from these," I would say a lot of them are like probably big corporate farms. I'm not guessing that it's not like your local CSA that's calling
But
for.
every industry that, like, let's say landscapers, big or small, if they lose the illegals, they're going to have a disruption, just like hotels, no different. So it doesn't make any sense. All companies using illegals are going to be inconvenienced. No one should get a free ride again. What are we? Same point as just before. Are we going to have rule of law or not? And Tim Dillon said there's randomness. Of course, that's how you catch criminals, by randomly coming and having inspections. So yes, we want randomness. I don't want people to know we're coming. And the other thing is, we could easily have a visa program. There's millions of people that are across the border that want to come here legally. We could have a visa where they know they're going to be working in hotels. So we could easily have people here in a week who are going to pick the berries and work in the hospitality. So that's garbage to say they'd be disrupted for a long time. We easily could have a visa program with people that want to come over legally. So that's all debunked.
Well, I will say, okay, here, they when they requote his Truth Social post where they say that farmers being hurt badly, and you know they have very good workers. They work for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be great, and seem to get a little bit softer on it. Uh, it reminds me of what I learned as a reporter when I was an environmental reporter in Washington State. It became very clear to me that we have rule by largest whiner in a lot of cases. It's like whoever is the most the loudest and the most powerful complainer gets their way in the United States. And I saw this with actions, for instance, that the Department of Fish and Wildlife would take. Like they would do something and say they had to do it because science required it. But then if some very powerful interest were to lobby them, then all of a sudden the science went out the window. It didn't matter anymore, and they would reverse course. And even if I didn't like their policy, and maybe internally I'm like glad that they stopped it because personally I didn't agree with it. What I didn't like was seeing how easily powerful people can complain and then get their way. And so I don't know what I think about that we have these interest groups. Like, take for instance now how a couple states have passed laws saying that you can no longer sue Bayer, formerly Monsanto, or other chemical companies who don't, if they don't warn you about cancer on the label, as long as they put what the EPA requires, you can't sue them. So that's like a law. Well, it's very clear that that policy, that bill, that's been passed through legislation, has come in the wake of pressure from Bayer and other groups with these lawsuits because they're paying out gazillions of dollars to people who have alleged that Roundup in particular has caused their cancer. So all of a sudden, after they're paying out all this money, now we're seeing these bills being passed by state legislatures. They're like, you can't sue anymore as long as they put what the EPA requires. Now, regardless of what you think about that specific thing, whether they should put more or less than what the EPA requires, it's interesting to watch how politicians respond to pressure from big money, from
Well,
interests that have a lot
the
of money.
borders being open is the same thing.
That's what I'm
I mean, there's
saying. I mean,
there's nothing that good happens when a person's working here illegally. It's everything would be better if they had a valid visa to work. I mean, they're basically enslaved. I saw the open borders as the most racist and totalitarian system I've ever seen. Because what we're doing is, number one, we're taking able-bodied men away from their countries and their families, right? So they could come and work here and make our big companies, as you said, make them wealthy. But they're here. I worked with thousands of illegals in my career. They're here, they're nervous, they have no freedom, they can't complain, they can't get workers' comp, so many of them. So it's a terrible life. If they could come here legally, what Trump wants to do with the visa system, then then they're out of the shadows. So plus, if you think about the racial component, most of the people coming here are men. So now the birth rates in the countries where they're coming from are going to be even lower, and the countries need the manpower. So that's one of the best reasons why to keep them home, is because their countries are suffering from a lack of labor, and we're taking it all, a reverse colonization, as they say. So there's no one. It's not good for anybody except the corporations when illegals come here. I work with a lot of them, love them. They're great people. Like Trump said, they're great. But we have to have a system where we're not making their lives better. That's the fallacy. They're here, they're working, but you have no idea what they go through to maintain that here, the anxiety they have to live with.
on AllisonMorrow.locals.com, DMSR says it is America that is duplicitous by saying people get protection to stay, then not. What do you think about that?
They get protection to stay.
Yeah, and then not. In other words, we keep changing the rules on people. Like one administration says you're safe, the next administration says you're not. That we're the one that's being we have lack of transparency, and we're we're the ones that are doing the wrong thing as a country because we keep changing the rules.
It's good. It's good that Trump's correcting a big mistake, and it's bad for everybody. Bad for American workers. The wages are depressed because of cash payments to illegals. The illegals I already described what they're going through. So there's no good thing that comes from illegal immigration. If we can have the same people here, I love those people to come here legally, have a system with big doors on our border wall, as Trump said, and then we'll be able to give them fair wages and get rid of the fear they live under. So yeah, so this plan is better if we get the workers to come back under a true system of legality.
All right, let's show a quick farm video. Take a break from this. This is a either very strong gust of wind or tornado that blew over our chicken coop. We have a mobile chicken tractor. You can see the wheels on it in some of these photos. And when we have a big storm coming in that we know about, like a hurricane, for instance, we will tie it down. But it is nonsensical to tie it down every day in preparation for a storm in Florida, because that would be ridiculous because we have to move it every day. And I'm not pulling out ratchet straps and everything every day. So I'll just take my chance with the flying chickens. But as you can see, we came out one afternoon. There was a storm that passed through. I mean, it was sunny one minute and then raining the next. And we then all of a sudden found out we had a tornado warning, and came out and look, these baby chicks, we had been introducing them to the big chickens. What we do is we have a kennel that has the bottom out so the chicks can learn how to forage. They can scratch and everything. And that's my friend Angela. Hey, Angela. So the chicks live in the kennel, and then the hens get to see them through the bars. And so they get used to being with each other. Because if you put baby chicks or even, small, medium-sized chicks in with large hens, immediately they will get pecked because hens are ruthless. That's why Bill Doris calls the View host the talking chicken heads. They are ruthless, and they peck at each other all day long, and that's what these hens do. So this is a baby chick that got wet. Lily got it nice and dry, and they all survived. It was really amazing that everybody survived this, especially the chicks that were in that kennel, that the coop didn't fall on them. I am sad to report, though, that a few days later, we left to go to Maine and New Hampshire for Lynn's college graduation. He went to college at the age of 43. See, this is how I move the coop every day. So you move it. And so what we would do is I asked my farm sitter, you see the chicks in the kennel. You can't move the coop with the chicks in the kennel, in the coop. So I gave her a bucket. I said, put the chicks in the bucket, move the coop, and then put the kennel back in and put the chicks back in. Well, we had this unruly rooster who didn't like to go into the coop because he got pecked on by the other roosters. And she had put the chicks in the bucket to move them. See, I should have just told her to do this, I guess, just carry the chicks in the kennel. But I gave her this bucket, put them in the bucket, and you have to put a lid on it because they'll fly out. But it was only meant to be like a quick temporary 1 or 2 minute transition place. And unfortunately, she forgot about them in the bucket. And so the chicks you see here, 8 of them died. Only 4 survived. She was trying to get the rooster back into the coop, and the chicks suffocated and died of like heat exhaustion in the bucket. And I tell this story only to just explain how like your farming is like a nonstop roller coaster of trying to figure things out and everything going wrong, and then trying to make them right, and then the next thing goes wrong, and then you're trying to right that wrong, and it is like a never ending game of chess. And so you come out and you're so relieved, oh my gosh, all my animals survived a freak tornado accident, and then the farm sitter kills them 3 days later. And this is the story of farming. So anyway, if you're thinking about getting into farming, prepare yourself for that. All right, Chris, real fast, if you are somebody who is I don't know, thinking about farming or eating because you like farms because you like to eat. You would like to have teeth. Teeth are very good for eating and for supporting farms. So go to greenpasture.org and get my favorite product, which is this fermented cod liver oil concentrated butter oil blend. It is 2 products, 2 food products. It's not a supplement. 2 food products put together because the fermented cod liver oil works with the high vitamin D butter oil so that they both synergistically with the vitamins and minerals that are in each allow your body to absorb the most. Like you need vitamin K for vitamin D to enter your bones. So the K is in the vitamin, D butter oil. The K is in the dairy basically. And then you get like A and D too in the fermented cod liver oil. So all of that works together, and it is just an amazing product. If you have cavities or you've had root canals or whatever, but it's also great because it's full of omega-3s. So it's like a very great product for anti-inflammation. You have fibromyalgia, just any like eczema, any autoimmune allergies, stuff like that. It's just a really amazing product for that. But I brought this out too. I don't know if you can see it. It says Muscle Balm on it. And this is another product that they sell on their website, which I use every day. It's tallow, fermented cod liver oil, fermented skate liver oil, concentrated butter oil, and then just essential oils like peppermint, lime, wintergreen, clove, lemongrass. And it's just great. Like I use it on my neck, my shoulders, because I'm lifting heavy stuff, bags of feed and kids and whatnot. And so if you want like a totally natural muscle rub. They also make a product like this that's like a natural Vicks vapor rub. You got sinus congestion or something, you want eucalyptus and whatnot to open you up. I use it on the kids too, just like a chest rub. But it's got the skate oil and the cod liver oil in it. So you're getting that through your skin, which is great. Greenpasture.org. And if you use promo code Allison at checkout, you get 10% off. So I think if you start an account, one of the local subs told me that if you start an account with them and then you buy like 6 of the fermented cod liver oil, butter oil blends, you'll get 1 free. So you'll get 10% off for using Allison at checkout. You'll get another 10% off for buying 6 at a time. And I go through with me and the 2 kids. Lynn takes it every once in a while, not as religiously as the kids and I do. But we go through 1 a month probably. So, having 6, that'll get you through half the year. Greenpasture.org, promo code Allison. All right, let's go to the topic of the day, which is artificial intelligence and whether or not you're going to get replaced. Chris put his quiz up on his website, chriswhalencpa.com. And Chris does take clients currently. So if you're looking for an amazing CPA to go through your taxes, you can hire him for that, hire him for advice. You haven't paid taxes. You're here, you're undocumented. You want to know what he thinks about how to have a 401k without anyone figuring out you're here. No, I'm just kidding. Chris obviously made it pretty clear that he thinks you should probably go back to your home country. But anyway, go to chriswhalencpa.com, or you can call him at 732-673-0510. All right, Chris, can AI replace you? Take my quiz and find out. This is what the quiz looks like here. You will get questions like, okay, is a close personal relationship to clients, customers an integral part of your job? And then you're going to get a score. Who does the best on this as far as AI not taking their job? Who does the best?
Oh, well, that's what all the questions will tell you that. So if you're working in a back office without having, direct client interaction on a deep level, that's a negative. That'll hurt you. That's what the questions are meant to be, right? So like for me, I have a close personal relationship with every one of my clients. It'd be hard to AI me in the long run. Doing intense tax work. Let's look at the second one. So, do you have deep job expertise that's not found in many other people? That's like me. I have a good income tax skill. But you have to ask yourself: is this something that someone could be trained on quickly, or do my years of experience give me job security? Right?
Uh-huh.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Next one. It's like, for example, do you develop sales and marketing programs? Are you someone who's involved in the marketing, involved in building the business? Because usually the best salespeople and the people that do the marketing are the last ones fired. So if you get into a sales position, you have two things: a deep knowledge of the product or service, as well as a close personal relationship to the end user. That's a great place to be, because that's the hard it's easy to be in a back office. It's hard to maintain the personal relationship with the customers. That makes sense so far?
Right.
The next
Yeah.
one's very, very
Well, let
important.
me let me give you an example. For instance, okay, so both of my parents are doctors. My dad is an orthopedic surgeon. My mom is a radiologist. My mom reads X-rays, right, or ultrasounds, images. But I feel like at some point, probably AI could take that job quite easily because
Well,
she doesn't.
because she's not dealing directly with the patients.
Exactly. She doesn't deal directly with the patient. And now on one hand, that's served her well. In some cases, she can work wherever she wants because she can switch from this hospital to that hospital, and there's no patient relationship. So they don't, she can sub for other doctors. They don't care. Whereas my dad, like, he's a surgeon, he meets with you before your surgery. You want to know if he's cutting into you, if he knows what he's talking about. He smells like whiskey. You want to know that kind of thing. My dad might smell like alcohol, but it's from kombucha. I promise you, it's just from kombucha, which he brews himself, or maybe a sauerkraut, which has been sitting there fermenting a little bit too long. But yeah, in that case, I mean, you can kind of see the difference between the two of them. He would have a much harder time being replaced, though. There probably will be robotic surgeons at some point, but that probably comes after my mom's job getting replaced, because I'm sure AI
Right,
is
right.
already starting to take
If
over the X-ray reading.
your mom is analyzing data,
Right,
technically.
exactly.
And
Yep.
so anyone that analyzes data without having to, like, but the radiologist, the neurologist, or the doctor who uses the your mom's output is hard to replace. That comes to the next question, which is very important. I've created something I call the human consequence factor. So, like, for example, if I'd have a robot who deliver me a newspaper, but just like you said, are people going to allow a robot to be ultimately responsible for my heart surgery, or does a person have to be responsible? The higher the human consequence factor, the less likely people are going to accept a robot as ultimately responsible. I think that's what things the AI gets wrong. All these pundits are talking about it, but there's certain things that people are not going to accept.
Okay.
Like an orthopedic surgeon, I'm
Right.
never going to accept a robot who sits in the corner getting the oil changed in between surgeries as my surgeon. People want people to shake hands with, to take responsibility for them. So it all depends. The people in the audience listening, are you in a high human consequence job or company or not? Very important, because your whole company could go away.
Now, let's talk about farming and AI, because somebody on Rumble, I think, rightly brought up that perhaps if we're talking about a farm where it's just 1,000 acres of soybean plants, then you might be able to be replaced by AI. But if it's like a community supported agriculture, it's a local farm, it's raw milk. Your neighbors want to come over and see the farm. They want to talk to you. I think you're less likely to get replaced. So I think it seems like the bigger the operation, the more highly mechanized, you see these huge tractors that probably could be driven by AI, and they're just going up and down the rows, and then seating and all that stuff. It probably would not be too hard for a computer, and you don't know who's growing your soy for your soy latte or milk or whatever it is. But I do think my raw milk, I don't have any raw milk customers right now, but if I ever did, I think they would more likely want to see me. They would want to. Yeah,
Of
that's how
course.
those people are, because it kind of, the customers do drive this too, which I think is one thing I just want to flag here. Often we forget about our role in the changes of the economy, and like, okay, if we're talking about companies don't want to pay a certain price to employees, that's why they hire undocumented workers, and they don't pay Americans the price that Americans want. Well, where's the consumer's role in all this? Because like, if people want $2 eggs, or they want something like that's very cheap and they don't really care who made it, then where is our role as the consumer in an economy where we don't pay Americans a fair wage?
I think that, like, including myself, if Americans weren't obese and they spent the money on food that they really should eat, the lower amount of food, they'd still have the same food budget. So prices need to increase because we need to pay the labor more. But America is so obese that there's definitely spending too much on food. Right? That makes sense. They're too heavy because they have too many calories, me included. So I think that if the prices go up, it's good. So fewer people are obese. I think we should have a calorie distribution center where certain people have to go and say, listen, Chris, you look a little healthy today. I'm only going to give you an allotment of 1,000 calories a day. Of course, I'm joking, but we need everyone. There has to be a big change. Hopefully, RFK Jr. is going to spearhead a lot of that.
All right. Over on locals, a question that had come in from See the Veil. Okay, so AI has the ability to self-learn. Can it over time create a human image on its own without needing input and create a whole new news script on its own? Yes. Question: is there any movement for AI to be a personal tax assistant? What do you think?
Yeah, the H&R Blocks of the world, of course, should go away because a lot of that is very just surface level. It's one dimensional W-2 type things. But when you get into the high end tax code and things that I do, it'd be very hard to AI me because there's 40 years of experience. There's a million there's a million choices to make. And so of course this is high consequence taxes. So the higher the consequence, my clients would never accept an AI because it's there's too many possibilities that they need to be informed on. An AI would never know because there's no experience, there's no gut instinct. Again, people want me, they want to shake my hand and know I'm responsible for the taxes.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people don't trust AI necessarily. So and not that they should always trust the person, but yeah, you want to be able to flush out a little bit more than what you found on your cell phone. Okay, Peter Venkman says that maybe AI should have replaced my farm sitter and my chicks might be still be alive. Um, Maybe it was, I think it was my fault for not saying, hey, instead of saying, and this is what I found, like, you have to be very clear, especially with younger people nowadays. What I said was move the chicks into the bucket, move the coop, then return the chicks to the kennel in the coop. What I should have said was immediately return the chicks to the kennel in the coop because they will suffocate and die if you leave them in the bucket. Like, that didn't compute, I guess. And so maybe I, wasn't clear enough that if you, put animals in a bucket with a lid when it's 95 degrees out, they're not going to survive that long. So you have to immediately do it. This all just to say, be very clear with your expectations with people and your boundaries, and make sure that you have communicated exactly what you need done, especially if you have a farm. And it is hard to find somebody who takes care of your farm the way you take care of it. That has been a real challenge for us. Like, we travel every once in a while, not a lot, but hopefully we do have some folks who have really helped us out and saved our butts, like especially in that situation. But it's hard to be a farmer and leave. Like, right now, the way we kind of look at it is we're not going a whole lot of places because we have young kids, and traveling is not super easy unless, like, we used to have an RV. We had the Airstream, and would love to get back into one of those at some point. But Lynn has his growing business, and so it's like, well, it's just one of those things where we're here. What do you do if you have young kids in your home? Well, you might as well have some adventures at home. What's the best way to do that? Have a farm, have some animals, and that. I mean, it's not necessarily like I spent a lot of time researching, and a lot of this I just did it. I just got a goat, and I figured it out. And a lot of the stuff I'd like to talk about in some of the videos that I'm posting in the shorter videos on Instagram and Facebook, but definitely in the show, is to start telling people about what I've learned. Because what happens is, like, every day you wake up and you go out and there's like, okay, there's a new thing. And I have only been doing this now for a couple years, so a lot of the stuff is still new. I haven't necessarily seen it before. And when you do a quick search on the internet, you'll find lots of terrible conventional approaches to medicine for animals, veterinary medicine. And so then you see that and you're like, I wouldn't do that for my kids. That doesn't sound right. So I'm going to do some. So then you spend the whole rest of the day researching to try to figure out what you think is the right approach. And then in some cases, you end up doing nothing because you can't figure it out. But I think the number one, and I'm going to show this video actually real fast while we're talking, the number one value or virtue, I guess, that I have learned over the last couple of years with our farm is patience, and just not overreacting immediately in hysteria to a particular situation, which I will be honest, like, was definitely something that I was very good at in television news. I was very impatient, and it worked to my benefit because I had to work very quickly. I had to have deadlines met within hours. And being patient and slowing down would not have served me well in the television news business. But you must in the animal world. So this is Lynn building a stanchion for our cow. We got an A2 dairy cow last year. Her name's Maisie. She's really sweet. She's a Dexter Jersey cross, and we're super excited to be able to milk her someday, hopefully in our lifetime, not just our kids' lifetime. But she needs to get pregnant, and we have decided at this point we are not getting a bull, mostly because our fencing is just not appropriate for a raging hormonal lunatic to be running around outside the house with small children in the yard. So we're going to do artificial insemination. But when I was picking out all these hot looking bulls for my cow, and you can just go through the Victoria's Secret magazine of bulls. I can show you a few. Redemption, who else? Otis, Alpha. Shout out to Alpha. He's another good looking bull. I couldn't get Maisie into the chute. I didn't realize we had to get her in. See, here we go. Sure Shot Pendleton, Sure Shot Bentley, Otis. He's on the top of our list. So you have to get them into the chute because they have to keep their butt still, because the AI tech has to come out and stick their fist up your cow's rear end. And it's like, it's obviously a very sensitive moment for everybody. We're sharing in this very vulnerable, sensitive moment. And so of course, when you're going to do that, you don't, in this world, you don't wine and dine them. You just stick their head in a chute and you lock their head in. And that's how it works. And so that might not be the appropriate thing in the human world when you're trying to procreate, but in the animal world, this is what we're doing. So, but we want her to like the chute. So we want her to enjoy the torture of sticking her head in the chute and having it locked in. And the best way to do that with the animal is with food. So I had to spend literally weeks like, okay, what does she like to eat? I bring out the alfalfa pellets. I figure we discover, okay, she really likes the alfalfa pellets. And then every day I had to work her like an inch closer to the front. And see, we finally got her in all the way up to the head catch. And then boom, I was able to lift the feed bucket over the head catch and get her through. And this took me probably a week to get her to this point. And now we're working on locking the head catch. I locked it for the first time yesterday. And she did squirm a little bit when she realized that she was stuck. But then she went back to eating, because cows have a pretty simple set of priorities. And if they have food in front of them, they're fine. So patience. I don't even know why I went on this rant, Chris. What were we talking about when I started this rant about patience?
We went from AI and then we went to the farm life.
I don't even know.
We're talking about it. But are you significant? Does what you do need a human intervention? I mean, do we need a human being?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, because how would you do what I just did with a robot? I would be very hard to.
Well, you have to remember, I think the problem with AI, and me being a computer person a long time, AI has no common sense. They have no instinct. like we're animals. We have cues, physical cues, odor cues, visual cues. Again, so that can't be that you can't have that in a robot really. It's almost like the cars that want to be self-driving. It's a very hard thing to do. So I think that, like, for example, AI, if you're an employee, you have to have you have to be able to be deceptive, right? Because even if an AI can do a spreadsheet of numbers or a projection, let's say financially, which they can do now anyway, that's only the beginning. The boss will need you to massage those numbers. So that's what everyone forgets. A lot of things in sales and marketing work is deception or wanting to make things look correctly for the company or for your client. So now I'm not saying to lie, but that would be very hard for AI to do because they're crunching numbers and being honest about it. That's only the very beginning of what people do in business. So it'd be very, very hard. Can you imagine if an AI was a salesperson having to go sell jumbo jets, or any emotional buying decision, like why are there still car dealers? It's a big human consequence. We don't have to have car dealers. Why can't we just buy them off the internet like a Tesla? Most people want to go and sit with someone who has responsibility for their end of the bargain. At least my clients.
Luna talks about Elon and Jeffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, give it an 80% chance of being a positive force for humanity. Based on the awful news I see online every day, I feel it's way higher than our chance of surviving with humanity in charge. And then says, just wants them to treat us the way we treat our cats and dogs. What do you think about that, Chris?
Well. They said the same thing with the steam engine in the late 1800s. So the steam engine comes out, and they start to use it in farming. We suddenly need only 10% of the farm labor. They went to manufacturing. They said the same thing with the car. The stablemen were out of work all over the country when the car came in. Supposed to be the end of society. So I think that society will find a way to get around things. I think AI. See, the problem with this is I've been using AI. So I taught myself how to program when I was a teenager. It's just a program with a slick face on it. People have to remember, don't trust AI information all the time because everyone thinks that it's super intelligent. It's only as good as the input. Remember, so AI, so if I want an apple pie recipe, I'm going to type in, give me one. It's going to go out to this dumpster with big claws and bring in all this information and try to collate it for me. But it's not based on some things that have been vetted. Like, for example, if you have enough people in the world posting on their website apple pie recipes that include asparagus, eventually the AI is going to give you asparagus, your apple pie. It's not smart. So remember, what data sets are they using? A lot of times it's garbage. So be very skeptical about the AI answers. That's what people think. Oh, it's infallible, when really a lot of it's garbage that you're
Yeah.
getting. People don't realize that.
Right. Yeah, you have to already know enough about the subject, kind of like the news business. You have to know enough about the subject to know how to not get played with the information. So if you know a lot, then you can argue with AI, and AI will eventually give you a fair, balanced answer. But it's unlikely it'll come out first. Like the first answer may be extremely biased, and you're like, yeah, but what about this? And it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. That's true. That exists. But you have to be smart enough. Like you have to already be informed enough to know to argue with AI and tease out the correct information, which if you don't know what
And
you're talking about, you might take it at
I
face
really
value.
I like all the deep fakes a lot. Because what I do is I buy a lot of older books. I'm a book collector, and I like
Uh-huh.
old history books because they can't be changed. So I like the deep fakes because the more they become prominent, the more people have to get up and go out and hear someone speak.
Right.
Oh, did Trump say that? Well, you got to go hear him. So it's going to
Yeah.
make all of this. We can't trust the media at all. It's going to make people stop trusting it, which is great. And then you're going to have to go out and find things yourself, and you're gonna really listen to people.
Right. Well, no, I kind of agree with you on that. It could benefit us in that people start getting really skeptical. It's like, I don't know if this is real or not. Whereas we should have been asking that for a long time. I don't know if this is true or not. And yes, hopefully it does encourage people to like actually do something real outside their own wall of their house, whatever it is, you like building tables or you want to learn how to play the banjo, or like in our case, milk a goat or get eggs, grow a plant, whatever it is. Like I just, I think I have a lot of friends still in the news business who I look at it and I'm like, wow, I I went so far down so many of these deep dark holes over the last few years during COVID that I would have been like many people who I think are still in the news industry, thinking that I knew what I was talking about. When now I realized that I had no clue what I was talking about when I was in the news business. The information war is so dense, and I don't think you have an appreciation for that until you really leave that system and you start getting online like I was and still am, and start talking to people who are in the dark, the dark web, the dark corners of the web. Not
Right.
not to say that in a negative way, but the people who don't get to talk in the mainstream world. And a lot of them make very fair points and bring up history, for instance, we've forgotten about, government policies that we've forgotten about. And it really gives you the sense, I think, if you start to wake up, that you could spend a significant amount of your life trying to chase the truth about many of these topics, and you'll never get to the bottom of it. And so I guess you could just keep searching harder and spend more time on your cell phone, or you could just put it down and go find
Oh, but
something.
but I think a lot of times we don't have to do it. You really just have to read a summary of the news or watch it once a week. All the stuff that goes on is just really, it's like P.T. Barnum. It's really a freak show today. All the news, like you were saying, like things you were reporting on. You don't know if it was factual information. So I just tell people all I know that's true is what's in my immediate vision and hearing.
Yeah,
That's it. I can even go across the street. I don't know. I can look beyond the trees. So the
right.
best thing is that's why I think things are becoming more um, local or regional. I find in business, people want to be able to meet people. So I see less people wanting to be remote in terms of entrepreneurs. So there's
Hmm.
a really great thing that's growing from Boston to DC. Even more people want to be a local or a regional firm. Mom and pops are getting much more popular. So I urge everyone, now is a great time with Trump in office, getting rid of regulations, getting good, improving the tax code, that you got to start your own thing as soon as possible and get it up and running, and get in front of people who you're servicing. Like me, I'm lucky that I deal directly with my clients like you. You're happy with my service. So if you're in somewhere where you don't have any interaction with clients, you might have trouble in the future keeping your job.
Well, back to your final point about you don't know for sure unless it's like, yeah, right in front of you. Just I think if more of us really swallowed that information and believed it to be true, I think it would do a lot of good for relationships, for this country, for the media, because doctors, because there's just too many of us walking around thinking we know way more than we do, and then we have like a lot of anger and self-righteousness about it. And I see so much fighting and bickering and arguing on social media, where I think if people were to sit back and be like, well, how do I know that that really happened, or how do I know this is true? Okay, I saw it on NBC, or I saw it on some YouTuber page or whatever. Okay, but do you know for sure? Like, did you see it for yourself? No, I don't. Okay, so what's your level of certainty, your percentage level of certainty? Is that worth not talking to your grandma for the rest of her life because you saw it on NBC? I mean, I just don't, I don't know. I'm not interested in that world anymore. I'm just not interested in the
My
world
advice,
anymore.
right? My advice to clients is do things that are local that affect your community. Spend a lot more time on that because that's real board of ed, volunteer, community service. Like that's what I usually do. So we want to do that because I don't listen. Everything happening in Israel is tragic, but I don't have to hear it doesn't impact me personally every day. I'm not going to check in with it. So I think people spend a lot more time listening to things that really have absolutely no impact on their life. They're wasting a lot of their energy when it could be put to good use. And I tell
Um,
people why I tell people, why are you down this rabbit hole about Iran?
okay, here's
What good is
Katie.
it? What good is it doing you?
No, and some people might criticize you, say, well, you got, empathy. You got to know what global issues are going on because, like, now with nuclear weapons, we can get bombed, blah blah. But I think you make a fair point, Chris. Like, there was a level of probably sanity thousands of years ago when all you knew was what was happening in your village. All you knew what was happening in your village. You had no idea what was happening halfway across the world. You couldn't do anything about it, and so you were just like, I'm going to go back to making bread because that's what I need to do to get through the day. KBAZ, the robot that cleans your floor, won't be able to clean itself out when it hits the vomit or other from your pet. That's a good point. And then Galen, I like that you're interspersing farm stuff with the political. It gives me a chance to breathe. I need some chickens for therapy. LOL. Don't forget your AllisonWinePromo.com. Okay, final video. I want to show this is my video of the week. I'm showing this because we have a broody chicken right now, broody hen. Broody means a hen that has decided it's going to try to have a nest and hatch its eggs. You know, a lot of times, like the hens will go in the nesting box, they lay an egg, they forget about their kids, they don't care. They would definitely be picked up by CPS if they were human mothers, because they literally just leave their eggs there for us to pick up and eat. But in some cases, the hens decide, no, I'm going to hatch some eggs. So we have a broody hen right now. This is not my video. This is somebody else's video. What happens is the hens will sit in the nesting box and they'll steal the other hen's eggs. So it's not just that they're one egg. They start to steal other eggs and they sit on them. Their feathers get all, ruffled up, and they don't like it when you take their eggs. So this lady posted, this is how to get eggs from a broody, mean hen. Okay. And here's the little, yep. See, this is what they do to you. This is what they do. Let's see if I can. Here, hang on. I'm going to reshare it. I'm going to reshare it with the audio so you guys can hear it because it's pretty funny. This is exactly what they sound like. Here we go. Do you hear it? See how they peck you?
Thank you for your services. Thank you.
You could just use like a soup ladle or something, but I like the skeleton hand. But our chicken looks exactly like this one. It's all black, and she's just sitting there on the eggs. Now she doesn't peck us like this one. But yeah, that one's not happy. See, they just sit on all the eggs there, and then they just.
Girl.
Lily's gonna want to do this though. She's gonna want to use the hand. Anyway, so that's all I got. I'm telling you, when it comes to the chickens, you just never know what you're gonna get when you show up either, because they all have their own little personalities. But I did get some comments from people wondering what our limit is on chickens. We have a coop that's a 12 by 10 mobile coop. We move it every day, so they get fresh grass every day. The roosters and the ducks go out during the day. I think during the day we probably have about 24 hens in the coop. It was sold as a 60 chicken coop, which I think is a little bit too much. But that's probably the upper limit. 30 chickens is probably what we're going to do per coop. And we might get another one at some point. I would like to do meat chickens. It's kind of my next. Getting Maisie cow artificially inseminated is my top priority right now with the farm. And then next to that, I would like to, like the new venture I'd like to try is meat chickens. Get some meat chickens, get the material to process them ourselves, and then stock our freezers with a bunch of chickens. Chris, any final words before we go?
Well, when you inseminate the cow, make sure you put on some type of nice song, some Johnny Mathis, maybe, chances are, something like that.
Yeah.
But well, everyone, if you have kids, try to have a no screen Saturday once a week. Wake up, put all the phones away, the tablets away, and have a whole day where you're not going to be as a family, not having any screens. It's hard at first, but it's some of the best times I've ever had with my kids when we put the phone down.
DMSR asks, what if you just let the broody hen keep some eggs? Actually, I have fake ceramic eggs, because some of you may know that one of the challenges we've been dealing with is that we have a saboteur cannibal chicken who has been pecking eggs in the nesting box. And so I bought fake ceramic eggs so that she would peck the egg and break her beak, or it just hurt it very badly. So she would not peck the ceramic egg anymore, or wouldn't peck the eggs anymore. She'd be like, oh, that hurts. I don't want to peck eggs anymore. So because I have these fake ceramic eggs, which did not work to stop the pecking behavior, I have stuck them under the broody hen. So she's on the fake eggs, but I don't think she knows that they're fake, but she is still stealing the real eggs. But she doesn't peck us. She doesn't like it. She puts her feather, when you try to steal her eggs, she does do the feather thing where the feathers shoot up and then she's like, she likes it, makes those noises and everything, but she doesn't peck us. So so we're just, I don't know, maybe we're hurting her feelings or whatever. I know some people, when their hens go broody, they like feel really bad and they let their hens stay. And I don't have any feelings like that. I don't care. I'm taking the eggs from the hen. Like Chris is talked about his opinion on, you have one policy and then another. So my policy for the hens is we're going to stay consistent. We're taking your eggs. We don't care about your feelings here at this farm. Anyway, all right. Thank you everybody for watching the show. I know it's kind of a different format than last time. I'd like to know what you think about it. So leave me a comment. Don't forget to check out the sponsors, and don't forget you can also send me mail. P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida 34432. P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida 34432. Also, Chris suggested that when I do the farm content, I should wear my farm hat. So what do you guys think? Should I switch, so I have the farm hat. Let's see if I
love that.
Hat for farm content. So when we go back and forth from the farm videos, and I'll just wear my farm hat. And then if I, go back to news, then I just do this, I just put my glasses on. Or is that just going to be like a hair? It might be a hair nightmare. I don't know. Anyway, let us know what you think. All right. Bye, everybody. Good to see you. Don't forget to go to Chris's website, chriswhalencpa.com. See you next time.